Hi folks, I'm Sean McCormick, and in this video we're going to take a look at processing a black and white landscape inside of Lightroom. There's just something about landscape images, they're just incredible, and in black and white you can get super look, especially when you've got a moody day. You know, the thing about shooting landscapes is that a lot of people they're all chasing light all the time, and you're getting some fantastic photographs from chasing light, but you don't always have the light. Sometimes these moody images are the perfect days for creating black and white images. So here's an image shot on such a day, and I'm just going to process it. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to work on some little stuff that's going on in the image. Now I could come in here to the basic panel and start playing with exposure, highlights and contrast, shadows, things like that. But there's a new auto tone inside Lightroom 7.1, Lightroom Classic that is, and it does a great job actually. It's using Adobe Sensei, so it compares to what people have processed loads of other images at and just creates that. And I actually think it does a fantastic job. So that's that done there. So let's begin with that. I start thinking about what else needs to be done with the image. Well, the first thing is that the horizon isn't actually straight. So I'm going to go into the crop tool. I can press or I could just come in here and click on the crop icon in the toolbar. Now, I can do one or two things here. I can hold down the command key, or which would be the control key on PC. And I can click and drag a line along the horizon, or I can just try the auto button. And the auto button does a reasonably good job, so I'm happy with that. And we have a little issue here with this rock sticking in, and as you look at the image, because you've got this light area, your eye is always drawn to this rock, so I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to get rid of it by cropping, because I'm not going to lose too much information when I just crop in there. And that makes it nice. I just think I actually want to bring this in this way a little bit as well, so just for a little bit more balance too in terms of shape, which will allow me to bring this down back a little bit again. Or not. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press return. And one thing I'm seeing here, of course, is that I'm seeing spots all over the place here. So I go into the spot removal tool, which is the shortcut Q, if you want to make it easier on yourself. There's some very obvious spots here that I can see quickly, so I can just click on them to get rid of them. And by just clicking, it's just going to auto select other areas. So these ones here are kind of obvious. But for ones that aren't necessarily obvious, what you can do is you can press the A key, or you can come down here and click visualize spots. So that's let me see, there's one there as well. And this guy looks reasonably good. I can change the intensity of the edges though by just moving this around as well. That pretty much looks like I've got most of them. So press A and see if there's anything there. Oh, there's one here now. Just inside the sky that I'm seeing where it's darkened it down a little bit. Okay, and then I just press Q to get rid of that. And just seeing one or two more here. So I'm going to continue with that here. This is kind of something, it's not an actual spot, but it's something that's annoying in the image itself. So now on to the black and white conversion. There's a couple of ways of doing it in Lightroom. I could, for example, grab saturation here and I could pull it down the whole way, and that will create a basic black and white. I can then also, sorry, not tone curve, but I can go into HSL and I can, in the saturation, pull all of these down, and that will desaturate the whole image, as you can see there. But what I'm actually going to do is reset. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to click on black and white. And this creates a kind of an auto black and white. There used to be an option to turn this off, but it's no longer there. You can, of course, just double click on the words black and white and that will reset it. Now, with black and whites, there's one thing that you can do as well, and that is that you can change the white balance, because the underlying color doesn't matter quite so much because you're black and white. But if you move white balance, you can see that it does change the tones in the, or if you can change white balance, it does change the tones in the image. I thought I said something else for a second. So you can see that does make a difference to how the image looks. So now that we've done that, I'm going to start off for doing things to try and increase the contrast in the image. I'm just going to turn off the spot removal while I'm doing that. I'm going to come down to dehaze and increase it. I'm deliberately trying to darken the image and create way more contrast. Now, that does, of course, tend to make it darker, so you have to bring the exposure up. About 1/3 of a stop should be okay. If I'm matching what's in the article, it's 0.84. Don't want to necessarily match it exactly. But then on top of that, I think it needs more clarity and contrast. And so good black and whites are always about contrast. A bit of clarity as well, just to bring in some kind of sharpening as well. If you want, you could add sharpening. I haven't done any in the actual original article, but if you want, you could increase the sharpening as well in it, just to bring out a little bit more of an effect. And the final thing I'm really going to do is I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to Option or Alt click on a panel header to break it down so it's in solo mode, so we can only see one thing. Then I'm going to jump to effects and I'm going to add some grain. It doesn't need too much grain for the effect. That's really, really nice. It's just to kind of mask some of the noise that's in the image itself and just give it a more natural feel with what's there. And I'm just going to bump up the size of the grain as well. And I've just spotted that there's another spot. Boom, boom, pardon the pun. Oh, the spot that was fixed that didn't get fixed correctly, obviously. So I'll just click on this one again and press H to hide it. Didn't hide it there. There we go. Okay, that looks much better. So remove that. And that basically is a black and white image. If we want to see a before and after, you can press the # key. Alright, that's using the wrong thing for the before. Sorry about that. Let's reset, so that should work. And so that's our before and our after. So that's a really nice conversion. I'm really, really happy with that there. And of course, you can also do something to preview this in camera. So one useful thing that you could do when you're actually out shooting is to use the picture styles or film emulations that are in your camera to give you a preview in black and white. There's different varieties and different images as to how this is done, but in the case of the Fuji I'm using here, you've got two different film emulations, Acros and just monochrome. So in our case, we come in and you can find it in different menus, but here it's specifically in the image quality settings, and you have film simulation. It's also in the quick menu, and so you can go through and preview them here. So you've got Provia, Velvia, Astia, Classic Chrome, Neg Pro High, or Pro Neg Standard, which is just a lower contrast version. And then we have the first one, which is Acros Film Simulation. And you can have this in standard, green, red, and yellow. In this case, red gives you a very contrasty look, so you could use that one. Or you could use the monochrome setup, the basic monochrome. Again, in green, red, and yellow varieties, as well as standard. So with these, you could then go in and say in your general settings menu, in your image quality, you could choose to have, fine plus raw or normal plus raw. This will create a JPEG as well that you can use as a comparison image for Lightroom's reference view, so that you can get the raw to look more like it, or you can just use it as a JPEG on its own, ready for use straight away.